All right, good evening, everyone. We are live. Thank you to my council colleagues for joining on this meeting. It should be a fairly short meeting. So let's officially start. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the February 18, 2026 virtual Labor Education, Workforce, and Youth Development Committee meeting. That's hard to remember. I am the Assistant Majority Leader, Amica Hernandez, and I am chair of this committee. This meeting is broadcasting live on HPA-TV's Government Channel 96, Frontier Government Channel 6032. It will also be streamed via hpa-tv.org, HPA-TV Facebook page, and the HPA-TV Apple TV, Amazon TV, and Roku TV apps. It will also be made available on the HPA TV YouTube channel. I would like to acknowledge everyone present here today. With us, we have Majority Leader Councilwoman Kelly Bilodeau. We also have Councilwoman Mali Rosado. We have our staff from our office, our council office, Charmaine Craig. And then we also have with us Director of Department of Family, Children and Youth, Christina Baldwin, and Assistant Director for Youth Services, Chris Marcelli, who will be speaking on the first item. So thank you all for joining us. And we have two items on the agenda. And we're gonna start with item 2.1, Mayor Abulampalan, with accompanying resolution authorizing the city to accept grant funds from the State of Connecticut Department of Children and Families. So Christina Baldwin, the floor is yours.
Good evening. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you to all the council members here for having us here. Again, my name is Christina Baldwin. I am the director for the City of Hartford's Department of Families, Children, and Youth, and I am joined by our Assistant Director for Youth Services, Chris Marcelli, and we'd like to give you a short presentation on the overview of the grant that we have received from the state of Connecticut. So I'll ask for Chris to please share his screen. Thank you. So our Department of Families, Children, and Youth. So this particular grant resides in our Youth Services Division of the department. The contents for this presentation include an overview of the Youth Service Bureau, as well as an overview of the grant that we are receiving from the Connecticut Department of Children and Families. This is our Youth Diversion Team grant, formerly known as the Juvenile Review Board grant. We'll give you an overview of the grant details and some of the expenditure categories. So our youth service bureaus under Connecticut state law, it provides for the establishment and funding of the youth service bureaus. Key takeaways as part of the state statute, the role of the YSB or Youth Service Bureau, we abbreviate it by saying YSB, is that they offer evaluation, planning, coordination, and implementation of services. Some of the types of services offered include prevention and intervention programs for delinquent, pre-delinquent, pregnant, parenting, and troubled youth referred to such bureau by the schools, the police, the juvenile courts, adult courts, local or youth serving agencies, and parents or self-referrals are also accepted. The purposes of the service, such services shall be designated to meet the needs of the youth. Those can be varying and unique, and by the diversion of the troubled youth away from the justice system, as well as by the provision of opportunities for all youth to function as responsible members of their community. So the manner of service provision. A YSB is the coordinating unit of community-based services to provide comprehensive delivery of prevention, intervention, treatment, and follow-up services. Diversion programs. So the funds that we are discussing today are again provided by the Connecticut Department of Children and Families, and this is for the establishment and implementation of the youth diversion teams across the state. And I will turn it over to Chris Marcelli to speak more about this grant and the details of it.
Thank you. So once again, Chris Marcelli, Assistant Director for Youth Services, the Department of Families, Children, and Youth. The grant we're talking about today, as my director mentioned, is for the Youth Diversion Team. You are probably more accustomed to hearing that called the Juvenile Review Board. There's been a change in branding and model statewide as Hartford and all of our peers across the state have been moving in a slightly different direction, substantially still similar, and serving the same purpose as it always has. The purpose of the Youth Diversion Team is a simple diversionary option for justice-involved youth. Sometimes this means that a youth is referred directly to us or to the youth diversion team itself. I'm still getting used to the new term too. Either directly into us by the police department without going first to court. Other times, if the police department determines that the youth in question needs to be sent to court first, then the court may sometimes choose to divert the youth in question to this service instead of a different outcome. In general, the purpose is to do as much as possible to keep them from reaching that point and from winding up with a record and involved in the system in that way, because all the research shows that every step of the way that they get down that path leads to worse outcomes for those youth. Referrals can only be made for arrestable offenses. There are some things that used to be included in this that in recent years have been removed that sometimes cause some confusion on what the purpose of this program is or isn't. It does not include things like truancy. It does not include youth who have run away from home. There are a couple others in that category that used to be offenses that are now simply status offenses or FWISN offenses. They are non-arrestable offenses that do not get referred to the Juvenile Review Board and instead are just referred to the Youth Service Bureau for different types of youth services to support those youth and the families. Once the youth is referred into the Juvenile Review Board or the youth diversion team, the family still has to accept. We are dealing with minors here, of course, and they have to accept the service in the first place. If they reject it, then that's the end of that process. Once they accept the referral, however, they get an intake with the youth diversion team. They go in front of a panel made up of community members, and they review the details, and they figure out how to balance the youth's need with any potential victim's need, the community's needs, determining the right services for that youth, the right actions that youth needs to take if they need to make any restitution to anyone or entity they may have harmed, how to make sure that they are essentially held accountable by a system less formal and less punitive than the court system and the criminal justice system. Around the state, most of these teams are run directly by the Youth Service Bureaus in a few places, including here in Hartford. The Youth Service Bureau in question, which is us, contracts it out to another provider who is well positioned to provide that service. Here in Hartford, the Village for Families and Children has been subcontracted to do this service for many, many years. I couldn't even tell you how many. And they get the youth in and they go through this entire process and they provide the services that the youth require. Under this budget, which this year and next year is about $254,000, most of the grant is spent on caseworkers at that agency to run this program, manage the program, and provide services for those youth. Under that, by the subgrantee, here are the categories in which we can project those expenditures will be made based on prior year expenditures. Again, that top category is the biggest one. It is mostly getting spent on those caseworkers to provide direct services. And there's also some, stuff that gets purchased out, supplies, other services, miscellaneous supports and administrative costs. But far and away, it's that top line. Most of the budget is getting spent directly on caseworkers who are providing the direct services needed by these youth. And that's the project. Any questions?
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions from my council colleagues? And I'd like to also acknowledge and welcome Councilman John Gale. Mr. John Gale.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And good evening, everyone. And my apologies for my late arrival. Based on what you said about the village handling this, is this essentially just a pass through? This money comes to you and the entire amount just passes through to the village?
Yes.
It does. Yes. Oh, sorry, Chris. Sorry. Yes, it is. In terms of the funding, however, we provide significant staff support. We manage it. We do the data collection and data analysis. We are working with DCF through coordinated efforts to manage and oversee, and Chris and his team manage that contractual agreement very closely, all through in kind. But we don't take any of the administrative costs for the funding.
So that just comes out of your budget itself, the oversight, if you will, of the contract.
Oversight, compliance, yes, management, data.
So, and I take it then that they provide you with a report, some periodic report that shows how many youth they've handled or serviced, and what the various outcomes are.
Yes, that's correct. They're required to report to us on a quarterly basis. We're also required to submit that data to the state Department of Children and Families as well. They are also very actively involved in our Racial and Ethnic Disparities Committee. That is a red committee that is co-chaired by the Center for Children's Advocacy and by our department, joint co-chaired. So at that meeting, there are many different levels of service providers, including judges and both school personnel, DCF, many service providers where there is a report out on a quarterly basis. So they're required to present their reports at that committee meeting as well.
Is that report anything that I would understand if I read it?
Yes, yes, they prepare a easily readable version of that report.
Could you then perhaps send the members of the committee a sample report that we get a
Yes,
look at?
absolutely. We'd be
All right.
happy to.
That'd be
Definitely.
great.
Yep. Mhm.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions from my council colleagues? Councilwoman Rosado.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Walden, for your presentation. Would you be able to provide, you said it's quarterly that you guys report, correct?
Correct.
Could we get the last 4 quarters, please?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. We'd be happy to send that. Mhm.
Thank you. That is all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And any other questions? All right, so I'll have a question on my own. So receiving the funding in the third quarter of the fiscal year, which is kind of late, very late, and I understand that that's the state money and they run at their own speed. Um, the services have been provided since July 1st, like it hasn't really. Okay, so then that means that the village has been essentially upfronting the cost, which is very common across all nonprofits that you contract with, that we have to, they have to upfront the cost, and then they kind of get reimbursed when the funding, comes through. And if it doesn't come through, then that's a different conversation. That's a different, and if it comes through at a different level, then it's a different conversation. And I've seen that happen, and it's very very unfortunate. But I wanted to understand um, that is the situation that he had the services have been provided since July 1st. They never stopped because the funding was not in place yet.
Yes, that's correct. So these services generally cannot be interrupted, right? So they happen uninterrupted. And in this grant, as Assistant Director Marcelli pointed out, is on a 2-year grant, but majority of the grants for our department are on a reimbursement basis. So services are provided, and then organizations are paid on a reimbursement basis. But yes, we always, ensure that they are made whole for any services that are provided.
And I'm sure in the case of the village, the cash flow wouldn't be an issue for something, of this size, but I assume that other smaller nonprofit may not have necessarily the cash flow sometimes to do this, but that's part of the evaluation that you do when you are deciding, which nonprofits, you contract with, I assume, the level of capacity to upfront, the cost. So my last question would be the the uh, the reporting that should have been done ready for quarter one and quarter two, which Councilwoman Rosado asked you for the last one, which should cover, October through December. I assume that we're doing a July through June fiscal year. On that report, is it only a line item report of the cost base, based on the slide that Mr. Marcelli presented, or do they also provide a narrative report alongside with that financial report?
They provide a narrative. They actually provide an in-depth data report that speaks to the narrative of the program. So they look at a lot of different, we have a lot of different factors and benchmarks when we're looking at the outcomes of the youth that are being served. So not only how many are referred, but how many actually enter the program, how many have gone through the panel assessment process, how many have successfully completed their panel recommendations, and how many are discharged successfully. They also, look at data as it compares to the child. So for example, if any of the children are in special education with the school, they are able to gather that data, as well as, some more basic demographic data. So they're required to submit to us, which we're required to submit back to the state, a comprehensive data analysis.
Mr. Chair, I have a quick question.
I think he's frozen.
Was I the only one who went off, or did anybody? Because my Zoom just closed on me.
Yeah, no,
You were frozen.
Okay, my apologies. I don't know what happened on my end. I had to reopen it again. So I'm sorry, Ms. Olwith. I did hear most of the answer. I assume towards almost the end. So are there any other questions from any of my colleagues?
I have a quick question, pigging back through a question that you asked, I think it was you, Mr. Chair, stating that this was a pass-through. So we as the city don't have any internal monitoring mechanism that ensures that the grant is being allocated as it should. We're just a pass-through.
Oh, no, we are responsible for the compliance. So the funding comes to the municipality, and then we subcontract out, but we are required to do all of the compliance. Again, we're required to collect and report the data. So those data reports come from us. So Chris and his team, work very closely hand in hand with the provider to ensure compliance. We also, through this program, have a very strong relationship with the police department. They are an intricate partner in this grant because, if a child is committing an offense, it will come to the police department first. So they have been working with us very closely to build like the strong referral system. So, when it comes to the grant funding, we don't just give it out and then we're hands off. We're very involved. The actual management oversight and compliance lies with our team in the department.
Okay, and when you send that report back to us, we're gonna see like reoffender reports and how many you served in the 24 year and FY 25. We'll see all that data.
Yes, you'll see the data for the number of youth served and the demographic information. We don't have recidivism data for this program. That's actually something that the state is working on currently right now on how to gather recidivism data for all of the juvenile review boards or youth diversion teams across the state. But you will be able to see like the numbers served, how many were referred, how many followed through and did a successful completion, and also some additional demographic data.
Okay, and did I see on one of the slides, or maybe I'm mistaking, certification with letters, LETRS? Did I see that on there or no? No?
I don't believe so. Say the letters one more time.
Yeah, the certification,
Oh,
no?
no, no.
I'm all set, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. See,
So through you,
questions?
Mr. Chair, I just have one quick question. So this dollar amount of cases that you see come through, like if the cases decrease or increase, and this is the dollar amount you receive, are you still able to hear all the cases that come to you? And if there was a decrease, what is done with the dollars, that are not being utilized?
Right, yeah, so it's not a like a per youth cost, it's a total cost. So regardless amount of young people, but again, it depends on how many young people are potentially arrested and diverted, right? So that's where that partnership with the Hartford Police Department comes in play. So I can say, the village has consistently served the number of youth, whether it exceeds or whether it has fallen short. It's still the amount of time and energy and effort. And again, as Mr. Chairman had stated, that that this particular provider does have strong capacity. So if they see an influx, which has happened in the past, they will still continue to serve and use whatever type of in-kind supports that they need to continue to serve the young people.
So right, so that's what I was trying to get at. So they will provide other resources just outside of cases, which is
Correct.
super important. Okay, good.
Yes, correct. We
Yes.
actually, I mean, so as Chris Marcelli had mentioned in the beginning, where sort of some of the change in what is considered an arrestable offense, right? So for example, truancy would no longer go through the juvenile review board process. However, the Village for Families and Children still does help to support us as a referral point for any young person, regardless of if the situation is an arrestable offense or not. So
Okay. Thank you for the explanation.
yes, my pleasure.
Thank you, thank you. Seeing that there are, yeah, there is one more question.
Question, you might never
Councilwoman
ask questions, but.
Rosado. Go for it. That's what we're here for.
The village does, I know how long have they been a subcontractor to the city? And does this go out to bid?
So they've been a subcontractor for the city. They've been running the juvenile review board for, I don't know how long, for many years. It predates actually my time at the city. And so so they are the city's designated juvenile review board. This particular one is not procured out to bid. So
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
All right, well, thank you. Seeing that there are no more questions, the chair will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to move this back to council with a favorable recommendation.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly second. No other comments, no questions? So those in favor of sending this back with a favorable recommendation, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, well, that's a unanimous aye. So this will be sent back to council for with a favorable recommendation, and it will be on the agenda, not on this coming council meeting, but on the following one. So thank you, Ms. Baldwin and Mr. Marcelli. Now we're moving on to our second item, which I need to minimize this.
Thank you all for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very much. And once I find the second item, I will read it because by accident I closed it. Okay, here it is. So it's item 2.2 is a resolution affirming the oversight authority of the Court of Common Council and requesting a statutory informed presentation from the Hartford Board of Education regarding signs of reading compliance, educator training, and kindergarten literacy evaluations, R 2026-003, request for the Board of Education to give the council an update. And this is a resolution authored by Councilwoman Rosado. Councilwoman Rosado, do you have anything that you would like to speak about regarding this before we?
Absolutely. I would like to postpone this resolution till the next committee meeting. That's my motion.
Okay.
Second.
So a motion to postpone this item until our next meeting has been made and properly second. Those in favor of postponing this until the next meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimous. So this will be postponed until our next meeting on the following month at some point in March. I don't have the dates right now, but it will be the third Wednesday of March. So thank you very much. I will now adjourn this meeting since there are no other additional items. So thank you very much for coming, and it was a good meeting. 24 minutes. Good job.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Have a good
Yeah.
night.
You too. Bye.
Good night.
Bye.